Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikki and I live with multiple chronic illnesses, and today is March 7th. And so that means that it is Endometriosis Awareness Week. And so I thought that I would share my endometriosis story with you guys. So first off, what is endometriosis? Endometriosis is a condition that mostly affects your pelvic organs. It is when a lining that is similar to what's inside of your uterus starts to grow outside of your uterus. So every month when you get your period, that lining sheds, and when you have something like endometriosis, that lining also tries to shed, but it has nowhere to go, which results in a ton of issues. It results in a lot of pain, it can result in cysts, in lesions, it can get to a point where your organs are literally sticking themselves to each other, and not just uterus and ovaries, but intestines and a whole bunch of other organs that just live up in your abdominal region, which just causes a lot of pain and issues. So, what was my life like before I got my period? So, at this time in my life, I didn't know that I had multiple chronic illnesses, but at the age of 13, I was very sick. I always had bladder infections. I was always at the doctor for something, and I was literally just permanently nauseous, my whole age 13. And my mom had endometriosis, and she would always tell me, well, maybe when you get your period, you'll start to feel better. And so I was very excited to get my period. But from the age of 13, we did know that when I got my period, there could be a risk that I would also have endometriosis because my mom had it. So endometriosis is not genetic, but it can be hereditary. And so when did I get my first period? I got my first period when I was 14, almost 15. And when I tell you that I had the perfect period, I had the perfect period. My first couple of periods weren't perfect, but they're your first ones. So with those ones, I would sometimes get diarrhea and a little bit of cramping. But after I started getting used to having a period, I literally had no cramps. I had a light period, so that means that my period literally only lasted 3 days of actually bleeding, and then it would spot until day 5, and then it would be done. I had the perfect period up until around age 19. So what changed? When I was 19, I was going to a Bible college at this time, and then during the summers I would work at a Bible camp. And so at this time I was working at a Bible camp, and it was staff training week, and I was very sick. I was nauseous, I couldn't eat anything, I was super lethargic, and knowing my history with bladder infections, it felt exactly like when I would get a bladder infection. So I let the director know that I needed to go to the doctor, and they ran a test on me, and the results came back inconclusive. But with my long history of bladder infections and with the symptoms matching up with a bladder infection, they did give me antibiotics to treat it, but they were antibiotics that I was not familiar with, and they were making me sicker. And so at this time, the director was really concerned for me, and so he let me know that if I still wasn't feeling good the next day, that he would take me in to go back to the doctor. So the next day came, I still wasn't feeling good, and he had a meeting in town, so he drove me to the doctor's office, and my mom met me there. This is where things just did not go how I expected them to go. So I had let them know that I had been in the day before, and they had given me antibiotics, and they were making me feel worse. And so this doctor wanted to run more tests. So he didn't do like a pelvic exam, but he was needing to use a speculum to take a sample of fluid that was inside of my uterus to test for a yeast infection. I had never had anything go up there, and he was using an instrument that was really, really, really large, and my mom mentioned to him that I was a virgin and he should go and find a smaller size because they have multiple sizes of these, and he only had like the largest size left in his office, and he said, I don't have any more, this is what I have. And so we were like, okay, fine. And that was the most excruciating experience I had ever had. I literally felt like I had been lit on fire, and I was screaming and just writhing in pain and begging him to just remove this speculum. And when he finished the test, he was like ghost white because he knew that he had done something. And after that was when everything went downhill. I bled for a couple of days after that. I had cramps in spots where I could feel the speculum inside of me, and that's when my periods changed. So after this test, that experience is really hard for me to talk about because it's very traumatic, and we know that that's when my endometriosis started. So what some people don't know about endometriosis is you can have endometriosis and have no symptoms, and then a traumatic experience can bring it to the surface. And so that was really traumatic, and specifically to my pelvic organs. And so that's when it woke up endometriosis in my body. Okay. So after that exam was when everything changed. Now I had gone back to Bible college, and I had a completely different period. So right at that time, it wasn't like I all of the sudden had excruciating periods, but it was now building up where my periods became more painful, and the bleeding would last for longer, and I would have constant pelvic pain outside of my period. So it was almost like I was living in like 20 days of torture, and then I would get my period, and although it would be painful, it was like I felt better when I was bleeding than when I wasn't bleeding, which is a huge concern. And so by the time I was like 20, 21, I constantly needed to have a heat source on my abdomen because I just had so much pain. And I couldn't do like light chores, like I couldn't sweep, I couldn't mop, I couldn't vacuum because any like pulling or twisting motion would just give me awful burning pain in my abdomen, and then I would get diarrhea from it. I would also get these really weird episodes that I'm not sure if they're connected or not, but I would get the burning pain, and then it would progress into diarrhea, and then I would get super duper nauseous, and I would have the cramps, and I would just be really sick for like a couple of hours, and then when the meds would kick in, it was like relief. But these would happen often like early in the morning. I would wake up at like 5 or 6 a.m. really needing to use the bathroom, and then I would have these episodes. So I don't know if they're linked to endometriosis or not, because I also have other stomach conditions going on, and so they could have been a sign of that, but we really don't know. So when I was around 2021 was when we really started looking into it. I had some pelvic ultrasounds done, and those were insanely painful, just like anything else that would go up there. And the results came back clear. So how long did it take me to get diagnosed with endometriosis? It took me about 3 years from the start of my symptoms to get diagnosed with endometriosis, because my mom had it. And so with the knowledge of it being hereditary, we knew that this was most likely endometriosis, and it was confirmed by 2 gynecologists. Okay, so this first gynecologist that I saw could tell that I had endometriosis from my pelvic exam, but this gynecologist was very pushy on birth control and on hormone therapy, and that was not something that I was keen on at the time. And so I decided to try supplements, and they weren't helping, and my endometriosis was progressing, and so I decided to get her to refer me to another gynecologist, because she told me that if I would like to see someone else, she would refer me. And so she referred me to the gynecologist that I have now, which I love my gynecologist now. She is so sweet, and she is probably the only doctor who has ever listened to me. So I went and saw her, and she basically confirmed what the previous gynecologist had said, that I had endometriosis, and she helped me better understand why they use birth control and everything like that to treat endometriosis. As many of us know who have endometriosis, we know that birth control and hormone therapy are really just band-aid options. The gold standard is to have like an excision surgery, and so I had asked my gynecologist why they wouldn't do surgery when they knew that it was endometriosis. And so she explained that for me, I had some comorbidities with my nerves, where if they were to do surgery and cut through my nerves that were overfiring, it could cause more complications and end up with more nerve pain after the surgery. And so that helped me understand. And so I did try birth control. I also tried gabapentin, and I just didn't like the way that either of those made me feel. Gabapentin made me feel high. Like literally I would take it, and 30 minutes later it was like colors were like brighter. So I was literally like high on that medication, and it didn't help my pain. And then the birth control, I started off by just doing half a tablet, and that's when I noticed that it might work for me. But then when I worked my way up to a full tablet, I got super depressed, and I was not okay with feeling that. So I went off of it, and then someone introduced me to bioresonance therapy. And that is what I continue to do to this day. Bioresonance therapy is using electromagnetic current, so your body has frequencies, and this machine is also running frequencies, and it's basically running a frequency against your body to make it run at a correct frequency. And so by running different numbers, she could tell that I had endometriosis, and so she runs a program on me for endometriosis to encourage my organs to function at a normal frequency for that organ. And this has changed my periods. I no longer had pain outside of my periods. My periods are still very painful, but they are not what they were. I have also tried seeing an osteopath, and that in combination with bioresonance therapy has worked very well for my body. I hardly need to take meds on my period anymore, where before it was like round the clock. As soon as they were out of my system, I was taking meds and just like in the fetal position with my heating pad, and now I am maybe like that on the first day, and then as long as I'm taking it easy, I don't need to be constantly taking meds or constantly lying down. So that has greatly improved my periods. And then for other reasons, we decided to also do pelvic floor therapy, and this has helped me with my comorbidities that come along with endometriosis. It's helped to train my body to, like, those nerves that are overfiring, it's been training them to actually function properly instead of telling me that I'm in pain when I'm not. And so right now what I do to treat my endometriosis is bioresonance therapy, seeing an osteopath, and what was the other one? Pelvic floor therapy. And so I know that these don't always work for everybody because everyone's body is different, but I am so grateful that the more natural treatments have been working for me. And my gynecologist supports me in doing these therapies, even though she doesn't understand how they work. But she has been supportive and hasn't pushed hormone therapy on me, which I very much appreciate. And so, do I plan on having surgery in the future? If I notice that my endometriosis is if I notice that my endo is getting worse, even with these other treatments, then yes, I would love to have it cut out of me, because I want to give my body the best chance at being able to conceive if we ever want to have kids. And I just want my body to be healthier, but at this time, endometriosis is not my worst illness that I suffer. And I'm very lucky for that, because I have people in my life who have suffered way greater than I have with endometriosis. And so I don't take that for granted at all. And if you are watching this video and you have endometriosis, first off, endo girlies, endo warriors, let's go. And you can do hard things, and I hope that you find something that helps you treat your endometriosis, whether that is being on birth control or hormone therapy or natural treatments like bioresonance and seeing an osteopath. I am not recommending that you go and try these things without speaking with your gynecologist. I highly recommend that you speak with your doctor before trying anything new. And so that is my endometriosis story. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and I hope that you'll stick around. Bye!